Chapter 2581. Waiting was usually very torturous. Qin Shun had been observing for about 10 hours, and during those 10 hours, he barely raised his eyes. He had been staring at the microscope attentively. His face was covered with a mask, and only his eyes were exposed. Zhou Chengwang could see the concentration in his eyes. It was almost harsh, and he didn't miss a single detail. Minutes and seconds passed, and Qin Shun sat there without moving. After a long time, his assistant, Eisen, handed him a pair of glasses. Qin Shun just put them on and continued to observe. 10 hours later, he whispered a few words to his assistant, rubbed his eyes, stood up, and walked straight outside, holding a few printed films in his hand. Zhou Chengwang went forward, and Qin Shun quickly took the glasses and showed him the films. His tone was indifferent. The surgery must be done immediately. I've asked someone to prepare it. The surgery will be in 2 hours. He handed the documents to Zhou Chengwang. Now, he didn't ask for Zhou Chengwang's opinion. Everything was decided by him. After saying that, Qin Shun asked someone to arrange a meal. He ate a lot, about a day's worth of food. After finishing, he wiped his lower lip. I'm going to rest for an hour. Before he left, Zhou Chengwang stopped Qin Shun. After thinking for a moment, he said softly, I want to see Shuemu again. Qin Shun smiled very lightly. There's no need. He'll come out in a good condition. Zhou Chengwang, that's the atmosphere, isn't it? Qin Shun smiled. I just want to see Zhou Zong's sad face. Zhou Chengwang. Qin Shun smiled again. Don't worry. Although he comforted Zhou Chengwang like this, Qin Shun himself wasn't absolutely confident about such an operation, or rather, an experiment. It wasn't that he hadn't done artificial digestive systems before, but they were all implemented on animals. It was the first time for a little monkey like Shuemu. Even though he had simulated it countless times before, he had never tried it in real combat. The most difficult part was not the surgery, but the rejection period of 1 month after the surgery. It was dangerous at any time. Qin Shun rested for an hour. What awaited him next was about 20 hours of surgery. Zhou Chengwang was not in the mood to rest. He kept watch with Aunt Zhang. Before Qin Shun went for surgery, he was wearing a full-body protective suit. Separated by a transparent glass, he slowly stretched out his hand and pressed it flat against the glass. Zhou Chengwang gently leaned over. This is trust. Qin Shun's eyes quietly fell on Zhou Chengwang's face. So, did he? In just a moment, Qin Shun walked in. The next few minutes were like a sentence for Zhou Chengwang. He kept smoking in the smoking area. Annie Zhang would come over to persuade him to smoke less, but Zhou Chengwang still smoked with a bitter smile. Annie Zhang then understood that Mr. Zhou smoked because he was lonely, so she didn't stop him. The light above the laboratory was blazing and hot. It shone on his handsome face, making him look even paler. Zhou Chengwang leaned against the wall and stared at the door with a gaze even more intense than the light. He hoped that Qin Shun could come out soon, but he was afraid that Qin Shun would come out. Just like that, he changed countless positions. Just like that, Annie Zhang, who hadn't slept for a day and night, was exhausted and fell asleep in the operating room. Qin Shun's eyes were focused. He had done countless similar experiments and was already familiar with it. Chapter 2582. During the surgery, he would separate himself. There would only be one living body under the scalpel. He would do his best. However, there was still a little problem during the surgery for little Shuemu. Eisen suddenly said, his blood pressure is dropping. Qin, the patient is in danger now. Blood pressure dropping. Qin Shun's eyes were a little dazed. The same scene, the same thing happened again. Qin Shun's eyes were a little dazed, and the scene of that time also appeared in his mind. That person left just like that. Seeing that he didn't respond, Eisen shouted his name in English. Qin! Qin! If this went on for another minute, the living body would die. Qin Shun woke up from his daze. He let out a long breath and immediately said calmly, give him blood. If it doesn't work, use the pacemaker. Remember, give half the current, half the number of times. The living body is too small. Eisen's eyes were full of trust. No matter why Qin Shun was distracted just now, in Eisen's heart, Qin Shun was God. Under Qin Shun's guidance, Aizen beautifully completed a series of resuscitation procedures. Little Shuemu's blood pressure slowly rose, and little Shuemu's heartbeat became active again. Qin Shin's forehead was covered in fine sweat. The female assistant beside him wiped it away for him, but it would soon come back again. Just like that, without sleep or rest, the surgery took a little longer than expected. It was completed in a full 22 hours. A few assistants changed, but Aizen and Qin Shin were always there. Even the abdominal closure was done by Qin Shin himself. He knew that he was more or less personal. When little Shuemu was sutured and wrapped like a small dumpling, he was moved to the intensive care unit. Only then did Qin Chun take off his mask and walk out. Outside, Zhou Chongguang was still waiting, looking over with a burning gaze. Qin Shin stood at the door of the laboratory and smiled at him. The surgery was very successful. The rest is up to the little guy. Zhou Chongguang wanted to return a smile, but he couldn't. His expression suddenly changed, and he fell to the ground. The sound was so loud that Aunt Zhang, who was sleeping at the side, woke up. "Mr. Zhou, what's wrong, Mr. Zhou?" Qin Shin cursed under his breath, cursing 3 words. Then, he quickly fell down and reached out to press on Zhou Chongguang's heart dozens of times. Then, he pinched Zhou Chongguang's mouth and prepared for artificial respiration. Facing her ex-brother-in-law, and a scumbag brother-in-law at that, she really couldn't bring herself to do it. Qin Shin glanced at Aunt Zhang. "You're coming?" Aunt Zhang magically understood and quickly waved her hand. "I won't, Dr. Qin." Qin Shin's gaze was unfathomable. Then he lowered his head and performed CPR on Zhou Chongguang, cursing as he did it. When Zhou Chongguang woke up, Qin Shin's lips were still pressed against his. At this time, Zhou Chongguang's eyes were a little blurred and his mind was not clear. He only knew that the person who kissed him was Mumu. His gaze was filled with affection as he looked at the face that he had missed so much. He couldn't help but kiss her back. This time, he was in big trouble. Qin Shin was stunned and pursed his lips. He didn't take much advantage of Mumu. But Aunt Zhang swallowed hard. It can't be. Is Mr. Zhou too shocked? Now he likes a man, and a man is a man. Moreover, he's his ex-wife's brother, isn't he? Isn't his taste too strong? Qin Shin was stunned for a few seconds before he came back to his senses. Then, he quickly slapped Zhou Chongguang in the face. "You beast!" Chapter 2583. Zhou Chongguang was stunned and didn't come back to his senses for a long time. He didn't realize what he had done until he was fully awake. He shook his head. "Who am I? What was I doing just now? Why can't I remember?" "Act again." Qin Shin sneered, then slapped him again. "Do you remember now?" Zhou Chongguang covered his face, then looked at Aunt Zhang and coughed. "Well, I think I forgot all about it." Aunt Zhang was also afraid that he would be beaten again, so she quickly said, "Yes, Dr. Qin, Mr. Zhou forgot about kissing a man." "Dr. Qin, you should forget about it too." How shameful. That was what she actually thought. Qin Shin snorted with satisfaction, then let go of Zhou Chongguang, then kicked him. "Your body is so broken. I'll check it for you when I have time." Zhou Chongguang stood up and smiled. "No need. It's not a big problem. I just haven't had a good rest recently." Qin Shin walked halfway, then turned around and looked at him. "According to the agreement, this little monkey belongs to the laboratory for a year. Zhou Chongguang, you better live through this year, or your son will really become a little monkey in the laboratory, the kind used for experiments." Zhou Chongguang wasn't scared. He smiled faintly. "Qin Shin, you won't." In fact, he was a soft-hearted girl. There's nothing wrong here. Qin Shin is a girl, so he is usually used to represent a girl. Qin Shin snorted, then stretched. "I'm going to sleep for a while. Zhou Chongguang, you guys too? You won't be able to see Shuemu for a while, so rest first. You're not made of iron." Then he looked at Aunt Zhang with bad intentions. "You know how to do CPR now, right? If your Mr. Zhou collapses again, save him like just now." Aunt Zhang was an honest person. She blushed. "What if Mr. Zhou thinks I'm someone else and kisses me randomly? What if he's fine, but when he sees my old face, he accidentally..." The last few words became softer and softer. Zhou Chongguang's face had already darkened. Qin Shin smiled delightedly. There were actually good people around Zhou Chengwang. He shook his head and took off his surgical gown as he walked. He took a shower and went to sleep. He was dying of exhaustion. However, he only slept for 2 hours before he woke up to check on little Shuimu. Eisen also woke up after a short nap. The two of them checked on little Shuimu together. Eisen was Qin Shen's assistant and also Qin Shen's student. Speaking of which, he was 2 years older than Qin Shen, but Qin Shen was an unparalleled genius in the medical field. Eisen asked carefully so that he could take care of this little experimental subject in the future. The little guy was very cute. Through the incubator, Eisen's eyes were very gentle. Then he looked at Qin Shen and unexpectedly found that this child was somewhat similar to Qin Shen. Eisen looked at him a few more times. Qin Shen, on the other hand, observed the data of various instruments and did not miss anything in the past 2 hours. Very good, a tenacious little guy. He smiled slightly. Eisen nodded. At this time, Qin Shen had already returned to his usual appearance, wearing a light gray sweater, black casual pants, and a white robe outside. He was handsome and had a clean and elegant temperament, which was rare. When he straightened up, he found that Eisen had been staring at him. He couldn't help but chuckle. "What are you looking at?" Chapter 2584. Qin didn't care. "Aren't you the same?" Eisen wanted to say in his heart. "We are different. I am a man, and you are a woman. No matter how much you look like a man, you are still a woman." But he didn't say it. He just accompanied him. For several years, he accompanied Qin Shen. Without Qin Shen knowing, he knew when Qin Shen would be happy, when he would be unhappy, when he would be in a daze because of certain things, what he disliked the most, and what he liked to eat the most. He knew too much about him. He even knew the brand of clothes he liked to wear. He went to check. They were all Italian brands. The price started from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands. But Qin Shen had a changing room of about 60 square meters. The cabinet was full of men's clothes of this brand. Eisen also saw it when Qin Shen sent him home after he was drunk. After he saw it, he felt that Qin Shen's preference for this brand was paranoid. Perhaps it was not this brand that made him paranoid, but a certain person. How did he change from a woman to a man that everyone thought he was today? His expression was often lazy and good-looking. His posture was impeccable. It was almost perfect. It made women appreciate and love him. If Eisen had never understood before, then when he flipped through an overdue magazine, he saw a magazine cover of the heir of the leading Chinese family in Italy. He understood how Qin Shen became what he was today. He was imitating a person. He did this to hypnotize himself. That person did not leave. He turned himself into that person. Qin Shen was the best doctor. He was recognized as a genius that only appeared in 100 years in the medical field. But no one knew that Qin Shen was sick. The sickness was in his heart, and there was no cure. Because that person had already gone to heaven. Eisen's blue eyes read him, but he didn't let Qin Shen know, because he didn't want to disturb him. A sleeping soul, when awakened, would sometimes be painful or dangerous. Qin Shen walked around with him, and when they left, they saw Zhou Chengwang guarding the door. Qin Shen stopped in his tracks. "Zhou Chengwang, Shui Mu is very good. Do you want to meet him?" Zhou Chengwang was pleasantly surprised. "Can I?" Qin Shen smiled. "Of course." Zhou Chengwang pursed his lips tightly. He was actually a little nervous. However, Qin Shen still said something to him. Shui Mu can't eat anything for a week. He has to go through the initial rejection period before he can try some food. He has to rely on nutrient injections for the next few days. His voice lowered a little. "You might be thinner and not very good-looking, but this is a necessary process. Moreover, this was a good time." If the situation was bad, he almost couldn't bear to tell Zhou Chengwang. Zhou Chengwang nodded slightly. "I know." Qin Shen brought him in. When Zhou Chengwang saw little Shui Mu, he almost cried. During the day of the surgery, little Shui Mu had really lost a lot of weight. Now, he really looked like a little monkey. As a father, he choked and couldn't say a word. He was full of heartache. Qin Shen patted him on the shoulder. "Just get through this. As long as you get through this, you'll still be fat and fair in the future." Zhou Chengwang nodded. "Thank you." Chapter 2585. Although he said it so ruthlessly, Zhou Chengwang knew the pressure Qin Shen was under. Shui Mu's identity, Qin Shen's explanation to Qin Mu, and the success of the operation were all things Qin Shen had to bear, but he never thought about it. Zhou Chengwang looked at him, feeling a little confused. Qin Shen was usually free and easy, but he had made himself look like a man. How could his heart be so soft? Qin Shen looked at him and smiled. I'm a doctor. Zhou Chengwang also smiled. You can read minds too. Zhou Chengwang, after you divorced Qin Mu, your IQ is not online anymore. It's very easy to understand. Qin Shen didn't mind stabbing him in the back. Zhou Chengwang, go rest. The child will be looked after by professionals. Each of them is professional enough to be a chief surgeon in a big hospital. They will come back in 12 hours. Qin Shen's tone was indifferent. Zhou Chengwang nodded and watched him leave. As for him, how could he fall asleep? Thinking about the thin little Shui Mu, covered in bandages, and his small stomach, he felt his heart ache. He didn't go to rest, but lay on the bench in front of the laboratory, covered himself with a coat, and slept for more than 10 hours. There were many people coming and going, but no one woke up Zhou Chengwang. It was Qin Shen's order because he was too tired. After Zhou Chengwang woke up, he looked at Shui Mu. The little guy could already open his eyes, black and white, but there was a trace of mist in his eyes, as if he was in pain, but the little guy didn't cry. He just looked up at Zhou Chengwang. Zhou Chengwang couldn't help but reach out and put his hand on the glass cover. Although he couldn't touch Shui Mu, it seemed like he could get closer. Shui Mu's eyes were wide open, looking very much like a Tebi. It was cute and funny, but his heart was full of heartache. A week later, little Shui Mu could already drink a little milk. The first time, it was Qin Shen who fed him. He was very nervous and hugged little Shui Mu, letting him take small sips. Although Shui Mu had just had an operation and hadn't held a milk bottle for a long time, he still had this natural instinct. As soon as he touched the bottle, he instinctively sucked it up. Qin Shen stepped aside, not letting him be so tight. The little guy only drank a little and choked a little. Qin Shen waited for another minute. When Shui Mu recovered, he dared to give him another sip. Just like that, 20 milliliters of milk took half an hour to drink, and he even heated it up twice. The little guy finally had something solid to eat, so he lay down contentedly and closed his eyes. Her long eyelashes drooped, and in that instant, she looked like a little angel. Zhou Chengwang watched from the side and felt that no matter how bitter it was all worth it. Qin Shen squatted beside him and said softly, "It all depends on these 4 hours." Zhou Chengwang nodded. Qin Shen suddenly asked, "Are you nervous?" He nodded again, and Qin Shen smiled. "Look at how happy and satisfied he looks. He'll be fine." Zhou Chengwang was silent for a long time before he turned his face. "Qin Shen, I find that you're a little too concerned about me." Qin Shen didn't avoid his gaze. He looked back into his eyes and said after a long time, "Because you're the person Mumu loved. She should want you to be happy." And Shui Mu was probably Zhou Chengwang's only comfort. Qin Shen was not a kind person, but he was really good to Qin Mu. Chapter 2586. For a moment, Zhou Chengwang was speechless. He was touched, but he also missed her. His longing for Qin Mu was like a needle in the dark night, thin but clear. Because of Shui Mu, he couldn't think of her often, but he did miss her. He really missed her. In those helpless nights, he thought of the sweet and wonderful time he had with Qin Mu. When he thought of that, his exhausted soul would be injected with a little warmth, and he would feel that there was still meaning in his life. Qin Shen looked at him and smiled. "Since we are separated, take care of yourselves." Zhou Chengwang just smiled and didn't say anything. After a while, he suddenly remembered that Qin Shen had never asked about Gu Mei, Shui Mu's biological mother. But if he didn't ask, Zhou Chengwang wouldn't be so stupid as to throw himself at the muzzle. They chatted for a long time, and Qin Shen also observed Shui Mu attentively. Shui Mu was lying down, looking at them with his big black and white eyes. "Look, what a cute child." Qin Shen smiled and reached out to touch the child's soft little face. Little Shui Mu smiled at him. Her toothless little mouth was open and she was smiling happily. "He likes you very much." Zhou Chengwang's gaze was also very gentle as he looked at the little fellow. Then, he raised his eyes and looked at Qin Shun. He probably thinks of you as his mother. These words were meant to provoke or tease Qin Shun. How could Qin Shun not hear it? She snorted softly. Isn't he an uncle? Then she looked at Zhou Chengwang and resumed her sharp tongue. Isn't his mother Gu Mei? Zhou Chengwang was speechless. He was wrong. He shouldn't have taken the initiative to provoke a zoologist, a quack doctor who could save a vegetative person. Although Qin Shun said so, he didn't take it seriously and continued to hold Shuimu's little hand and play with it. Little Shuimu kept laughing, which made Qin Shun feel better. Zhou Chengwang looked at him, his gaze becoming deep and serene. Actually, Qin Shun and Qin Mu looked very similar from the side. If Qin Shun had long hair, they would look 80% alike. He was fascinated. Qin Shun's voice sounded coldly. Don't look at me with this kind of perverted eyes. I'm not Qin Mu. As he spoke, he turned his face to the side. His gaze was calm, but sharp. Zhou Chengwang was embarrassed for a while, and his handsome face also had a red and embarrassed look. Qin Shun chuckled and said, You can also feel embarrassed. It was like she had discovered a new continent. Meanwhile, Zhou Chengwang was furious. Qin Shun, don't go too far. Now you realize the difference between me and Qin Mu, right? Qin Shun snorted and bent down to play with the little boy again. Zhou Chengwang glared at him. How could he not realize it? Qin Shun was really the most venomous man in the world. After 4 hours of watching, little Shuimu was very good. Qin Shun carried him to do a detailed examination and pointed at the picture on the machine and said to Zhou Chengwang, Look here, and here. The stomach function has been activated. Activated? Zhou Chengwang said in surprise. Qin Shun nodded. Yes, the magic of this regenerative system is that it will be activated when it needs to work and will rest when it doesn't need to work. It's like an artificial intelligence installed in the human body. Zhou Chengwang felt a little nauseous at the thought of it. When little Shuimu grew up, he would not tell him about it. Chapter 2587. Of course, Qin Shun smiled and said, As long as he survives this month, he will have a super stomach. Zhou Chengwang looked at her. What's the principle behind this? He didn't see the process of the surgery. Qin Shun looked at him for a long time before saying slowly, I'm combining Shilong technology with microelectronics. She paused for a moment before saying, the higher-ups don't allow it to be tested on humans. Once the success of this experiment is discovered, the consequences will be unimaginable. You know that. Zhou Chengwang was a little stunned. He hadn't expected it to be like this. That Qin Shun had taken a huge risk. Actually, according to their relationship, he really didn't have to do this, but he still did it. For a moment, Zhou Chengwang didn't know what to say. Qin Shun smiled and said, It's probably because I was in a good mood at the time. He said it casually, but Zhou Chengwang knew that it wasn't like that. After a long time, he said softly, Did Mumu ask you to do this? Qin Shun didn't admit it, nor did he deny it. Everything was a mystery, and he had to guess. He wouldn't die of discomfort. Of course, Zhou Chengwang couldn't guess it, but he definitely felt uncomfortable. In the next month in New York, he received countless calls from Gu Mei. He would occasionally answer them, but he said that he was on a business trip. He wouldn't tell her where he was or what he was doing, nor did he tell her about Shuimu's situation, because she was no longer qualified. A month later, little Shuimu officially passed the rejection period. His little face was glowing, and his little body had gained a lot of weight. Qin Shun announced that he could leave the laboratory. Zhou Chengwang found a suburban villa for Annie Zhang and selected 2 trustworthy people from the Zhou family to help Annie Zhang take care of the child. As for himself, he went to see Lin Shui. After a month in B City, rumors about Zhou Zong from Rongguang Enterprise were everywhere. The most shocking thing was the woman he was looking for wasn't anyone else but Lin Shui. Back then, she was a C-list celebrity that was stuck in his office by his ex-wife. Everyone was guessing that Lin Shui was Zhou Zong's true love. Otherwise, with so many women out there was no need for him to return to her. While the rumors were flying around, Gu Mei was the first to go crazy. That was because Zhou Chengwang's phone was starting to become difficult to get through. Occasionally, when he dialed through, he could hear a woman's soft and charming voice. As for who it was, she was very clear. It was Lin Shui, a vixen-like woman who specialized in seducing men. Gume started to get nervous. She kept asking Zhou Chengwang where he was, but she couldn't find him. She started smashing the things in the house. She smashed a bunch and replaced them with new ones. Later, she was unhappy and smashed another bunch. Just like that, she waited until Zhou Chengwang returned to the country. The news of his return spread throughout the entire B city, because he had brought his mistress, Lin Shui. Off the private plane together, Lin Shui snuggled up to him with a face full of happiness. The media in B City called Zhou Chengwang the 1 meter, 1 flower in the mainland. Gume also saw it on the news. She saw a group of people with great momentum, and Lin Shui was enjoying the treatment of Mrs. Zhou. As Gume watched, she felt that Lin Shui was provoking her through the screen. This bitch. Gume smashed the remote control in her hand against the wall, then lay on the sofa and cried. How could Zhou Chengwang treat her like this? They already had a child. He disappeared for so long just to fool around with women. Chapter 2588. Gume's face began to panic. Where did Zhou Chengwang take her son? Did he kill Shui Mu? Did he kill Shui Mu so that he could get rid of her? Gume's body slowly slid down, and she sat on the carpet in a daze. After a long time, she chuckled softly. Her smile was a little sad. Shui Mu, I'm sorry. She cried alone in the luxurious apartment from the afternoon to the evening. When the light in the room became dim and she was about to fall asleep on the sofa, there was the sound of the door opening. Gume's thin body shrank. She raised her haggard face and looked at the person standing at the door. It was Zhou Chengwang. He was holding the phone at the door. She couldn't see him clearly because of the light, but she could hear his voice. Okay, be good. Sleep early. I'm going home. Gume's voice sounded shrill almost immediately. It's that little vixen, Lin Shui. She didn't know how she rushed over and snatched the phone from Zhou Chengwang's hand. She shouted at the phone, bitch. Zhou Chengwang stared at her coldly and didn't say anything. After Gume finished scolding, she looked at the phone. The phone had been hung up. Her cheeks trembled abnormally. She kept looking at Zhou Chengwang, wanting him to explain, but there was no explanation. He didn't look at her and directly snatched the phone from her hand. He took off his coat and threw on the sofa. Then he unbuttoned his shirt. It seemed that he was going to take a shower. Was he going to wash away the traces of him having sex with another woman? Gume was so angry that her whole body was trembling. She still stood at the door and slowly closed the door. She said very softly, Aren't you going to explain your relationship with Lin Shui? Relationship? Zhou Chengwang stopped taking off his clothes and slowly turned his head to look at Gume. Under the dim yellow light, Gume's face was pale, while Zhou Chengwang looked much more energetic. He smiled faintly. Lin Shui is an artist that I signed and promoted. Creating a scandal with her is good for her exposure. Gume sneered. Is it a scandal or a scandal? Doesn't Zhou Zong have any idea? Zhou Chengwang smiled lightly. Gume, if you say that, then I have to correct you. The biggest scandal in my, Zhou Chengwang's, life is probably the day you jumped off the building. He tore off his tie and slowly rolled it up. Do you think I still have a reputation to speak of? What's happening now can only be described as a scandal. With that, he slowly walked over to her. While she was still in a daze, he pinched her sharp chin and bent down to whisper, Mrs. Zhou, you think too highly of me. His posture was extremely flirtatious, but the words that came out of his mouth could not be more cruel. Gume was so angry that her whole body was trembling. Zhou Chengwang, you weren't like this before. Oh, he still held her chin and looked at her with burning eyes. What is it like? Tell me about it, Mrs. Zhou. Don't call me Mrs. Zhou, Gume suddenly screamed in a shrill voice, because when those 3 words came out his mouth, every word was sarcastic. Zhou Chengwang was still holding her chin, and his beautiful thin lips were close to hers. He continued to whisper, was it like this before? He even kissed her lightly for a while. Gume's whole body was stiff. Chapter 2589. She looked up at him. Zhou Chengwang, you bastard. You said that you would treat me well. You said that you would live a good life with me and Shuemu's family. Have you forgotten? It's meaningless. He chuckled lightly. When I married Qin Mu, I also lied to the priest at the wedding. I said that I would love her forever, but a few days later, I was in your bed. Do you remember? Remember, Mrs. Zhou? Gu Mei's face was pale. You didn't love her in the first place. I don't love you now either. Zhou Chengwang chuckled and looked at Gu Mei. Listen up. You'll be the same as Qin Mu was Mrs. Zhou in the past. Okay? Gu Mei was stunned. It took her a while to come back to her senses. She looked at Zhou Chengwang in disbelief. The child is gone. Zhou Chengwang's gaze suddenly turned cold. Gu Mei, you should know very well what you've done. Gu Mei's eyes were wide open. There was only Zhou Chengwang and a dead silence in her eyes. She wanted to speak, but she couldn't say a word. She couldn't believe what he said. It's been gone since a month ago. The night I came back. He continued coldly. Gu Mei, you killed him with your own hands. He spat out a few words cruelly. It's your medicine that killed your own son. Gu Mei shook her head and stumbled backward. In the end, she hit the table. There was a big bruise on her leg, but she didn't feel any pain. She just stared at Zhou Chengwang with her eyes wide open. Her heart was heaving up and down violently. Zhou Chengwang didn't do anything. He just put his hands down and looked at her. He was quiet, and his gaze was cold. Gu Mei suddenly crawled over and half knelt in front of him. She hugged his leg and said, Chengwang, we can have another child. I can. Let's have another child. Can we just pretend that nothing happened? She cried and looked a little dazed. Let's have another child. Let's still call him Shuemu, okay? Whatever you want, Chengwang, don't divorce me. Zhou Chengwang looked down at her. His gaze was cold enough to freeze the air. He said softly, I won't divorce you, but I won't have children with you either. Gu Mei shook her head and cried. He continued, because there are a lot of young women out there who want to have children with me. He reached out and pushed her away. I'm not interested in you at all now. It's disgusting. Gu Mei fell to the ground and did not move an inch. She mumbled, but I love you, Chengwang. I did all of this because I love you. The only one you love is yourself. Zhou Chengwang suddenly turned around at the bathroom door and looked at Gu Mei. I wish you had never gone to jail for me. I wish I only owed Qin Mu. If it weren't for Gu Mei, would he and Mu be together? Maybe they wouldn't love each other so much, but they might have a child like little Shuemu. Mu would not divorce for the sake of this child. He would love this child very much. But that ordinary life would no longer exist. Zhou Chengwang's gaze became colder. He only glanced at Gu Mei and then opened the bathroom door and went in. Gu Mei knelt there and continued to cry bitterly. When Zhou Chengwang came out, he was wearing a bathrobe and entered the master bedroom. Chapter 2590. Gu Mei vaguely thought that he didn't want to sleep separately from her. Was this another form of punishment? Sure enough, after she fell asleep, his back was facing her and he didn't say a word to her. Gu Mei rested her head on the pillow and cried. After a long time, she said softly, Did you treat Qin Mu the same way in the past? Zhou Chengwang's body stiffened slightly, and then he laughed coldly. No, because no matter how much I didn't like Qin Mu back then, I didn't hate her. I didn't lay a finger on her, and I didn't treat her badly when we were in the same room. Now that he thought about it, although he didn't love Qin Mu, he still treated Qin Mu like a little princess. It wasn't because of her background, but because Qin Mu was naturally spoiled, so he did it unconsciously. Even if he didn't pay much attention to her, he was usually the one who handled the family affairs. He seemed to have always thought that she was suitable to be pampered like a flower in a greenhouse. As Zhou Chengwang said, the corners of his mouth became slightly gentle. And Gu Mei laughed softly. You hate me now, don't you? Yes. Zhou Chengwang laughed coldly. If you don't want to live such a life, you could get a divorce. He wouldn't stop her, but if she wanted to die, he wouldn't stop her. He was already in hell, so he didn't mind dragging her along. Gu Mei said softly, I won't get a divorce. After a while, she added, If Qin Mu can endure it, so can I. Zhou Chengwang didn't pay attention to her and went to sleep. At dawn, he got up and went out for a jog. When he came back, he made breakfast himself, ignoring the nutritious breakfast that she had made with love and specially made it Western. I want to eat Chinese today. After Zhou Chengwang finished eating, he wiped his lips. Lin Shui's Chinese breakfast is pretty good. I ate at her house last time, but I didn't expect her to cook. After speaking, he smiled at Gu Mei and pinched her chin before grabbing his jacket and leaving. When he opened the door, he heard Gu Mei's screams from behind. Zhou Chengwang, are you only satisfied when you drive me crazy? Zhou Chengwang laughed again. Drive me crazy? Gu Mei, haven't you had postpartum depression for a long time? She was stunned for a moment, then immediately ran out. Chengwang, I will definitely cure my illness. Please don't leave me. Don't look for other women. She hugged him and buried her face in his shoulder. After enduring for a while, he finally pushed her away and said in a patient voice, Gu Mei, apart from not divorcing, not leaving me, and not letting me find another woman, have you ever cared about where your son is now and how I'm going to deal with him? She was stunned. After a while, she said softly, I will give birth to another Shamu. Let's forget this memory together, okay? He stared at her, his gaze aghast. Then, with a cold voice, he said word by word, You're crazy. After saying that, he left mercilessly. After he left, Gu Mei fell to the ground softly. She couldn't tell if it was for herself or for Zhou Chengwang, or maybe it was for her son. Chengwang did not believe in her love, but she knew that she had loved him crazily since she was 20 years old. He was her sunshine, her everything. She had spent 4 years in jail because of him. He had no idea how she had endured those 4 years. Chapter 2591. Gu Mei sat on the floor, looking at everything around her with a sorrowful expression. Was it going to end like this? Was she going to admit defeat just like this? No, she wouldn't. She was Mrs. Zhou. If Qi Mu could do it, she could do it too. Gu Mei reached out to wipe away the tears in her eyes. She stood up, washed herself, and had breakfast. Then, she sat in front of the vanity and carefully painted herself. She cried as she put on makeup. When she was done, her makeup was washed away by the tears. She looked terrible, especially when her eyes were swollen like a panda. She pursed her lips, looked at herself in the mirror, and said softly, Even Chengwang wouldn't like me like this. She began to remove her makeup mechanically. She moved very slowly, cleaning her face bit by bit. It was still pale and unattractive to men, but it would make people feel pity for her. Gu Mei murmured, A woman who lost her child should look like this. She shouldn't wear heavy makeup. She smiled and then cried again. Her thin shoulders rested on the vanity, shaking violently. After a long time, Gu Mei let out a shrill cry. Shuemu, Shuemu, I'm sorry. Where are you? Gu Mei's eyes were soaked in tears. She was shaking and crying, as if she was going to die at any time. But no matter how she cried, Shuemu wouldn't come back. Did she kill her son with her own hands? No, she didn't do it. She didn't do it on purpose. She just didn't want him to cry. She only wanted him to cry sometimes, so that Chengwang would miss the child and come back. Shuemu, I didn't do it on purpose. I didn't let you die on purpose. Gu Mei touched her belly with her thin fingers and said with a trembling voice, Shuemu, if I get pregnant again, you'll come back, won't you? This time, I will treat you well. I won't feed you medicine anymore. Shuemu, be good. You must remember to come back. Mom will wait for you, okay? Gu Mei's voice was a little absent-minded. She kept talking and calling the child's name. She was absent-minded for the whole morning. In the afternoon, she took a bath, changed her clothes, and drove to Rongguang. She didn't tell anyone, nor did she call Zhou Chengwang. At the front desk on the first floor of Glory, Gu Mei was stopped by the receptionist. The receptionist said awkwardly, Zhou Zong is in a meeting. Gu Mei sneered, You should know me. The receptionist was still smiling. Hello, Secretary Gu. I am Mrs. Zhou now, Gu Mei said proudly. She pushed the secretary away and walked towards the elevator. But she was stopped by Zhao Zi. Gu Mei, if you're smart, don't go up. Gu Mei turned around and looked at Zhao Zi. He seemed to have just returned from outside. Zhao Zi's voice was very soft. Gu Mei, Lin Shui is up there. You should know what this means, right? Gu Mei's face turned pale and her lips trembled. She glared at him. Lin Shui is up there, and you're telling me not to go? Zhao Zi, Zhou Chengwang is my husband. But he doesn't treat you as his wife anymore, Zhao Zi said very cruelly. If you go up there, you will only be humiliating yourself. Gu Mei said coldly, I'm the legitimate Mrs. Zhou. I have the right to drive these wild women away. Chapter 2592. Zhao Zi seemed to know what she was thinking. He smiled faintly and said, You're different from Qimu back then. Back then, Chongguang really didn't want a divorce. So between Lin Shui and Qin Mu, Chongguang directly gave up on Lin Shui. And now, Lin Shui was Chongguang's chess piece. How could she do anything for Gu Mei? Gu Mei's lips were still trembling. After a long time, she squeezed out a sentence, I don't believe it. She walked towards the elevator. Zhao Zi looked at her and smiled faintly. You really won't give up until you reach a dead end. He let out a low sigh and didn't say anything else as he got into another elevator. There would probably be a good show in a while. It all depended on Lin Shui's fighting ability. Gu Mei took Zhou Chengwang's exclusive elevator and soon reached the top floor. As soon as she got out of the elevator, Zhou Chengwang's secretary stopped her and said, Mrs. Zhou, Zhou Zong said that he doesn't have time to see you. Please leave. He said it politely. Gu Mei pursed her lips and pushed the secretary away. Get lost. You have no right to interfere in the affairs between me and Zhou Zong. The secretary took a few steps back, but she quickly stepped forward and stopped Gu Mei. Mrs. Zhou, really, please don't make things difficult for us. If you go in like this, Zhou Zong will be angry. Gu Mei gritted her teeth and slapped the secretary. A few red marks appeared on the secretary's fair face. At this moment, Zhao Zi came over and supported the secretary. He said angrily, Why did you hit her? I did hit her. I can still ask Chongwang to fire her. Gu Mei said coldly. Zhao Zi was about to lose his temper when the door of the president's office opened. It was Zhou Chongwang and his new love, Lin Shui, who came out. Zhou Chongwang pursed his lips and leaned against the wall without saying a word. He only had a shirt and trousers on. The collar of his shirt was unbuttoned, and there were obvious traces of sex on it. His handsome face was handsome, but his face was filled with some kind of laziness after the event. On the other hand, Lin Shui, who was at the side, was even more warm-hearted. On such a cold day, she was wearing a fiery red camisole with bruises all over it. Especially on her neck, there was a huge hickey, making Gu Mei's eyes burn with anger. As a woman, her self-esteem was trampled on the ground, and she had no respect for her words. Lin Shui's slender arm hung over Zhou Chongwang's body as she spoke in a soft voice. Chongwang, I really like your little secretary. Every time I come, she would prepare delicious snacks. Most importantly, the t-shirts she prepared are very comfortable. Also, when you're being too rough, she would buy some medicine for me. It's really effective. I'll be fine after applying it. Lin Shui's coquettish look made Gu Mei want to tear her apart. Moreover, the words that Lin Shui had said made Gu Mei feel extremely humiliated. Lin Shui, don't you have any shame? I've recorded everything you said just now. Do you still want your future as a star? Gu Mei held on her phone and said coldly. Lin Shui glanced at her before blowing a breath of fragrance at Zhou Chongwang like a little vixen. Chongwang, I'm so scared. Zhou Chongwang smiled. He did not say anything. Chapter 2593. Although Lin Shui was smiling, it was a cold smile. She had been bullied by Gu Mei too much in the past, and today she finally got her revenge. In the past, Gu Mei had always thought that she was an elite and looked down on actresses like her. But today, she was going to tear apart her calm and elite facade. Let's see if she could still be arrogant in the future. As for Gu Mei, she was so angry that she almost vomited blood. Was there a more shameless woman in the world? Yes, it was Gu Mei herself, but she just didn't know it. Gu Mei slowly walked to Lin Shui. Lin Shui was still hanging on Zhou Chongwang, smiling at Gu Mei provocatively. Mrs. Zhou, you look like you're going to hit me. Lin Shui chuckled. Gu Mei said coldly, Yes, I'm going to hit you. She couldn't remember if Qin Mu had hit Lin Shui, but she was going to hit this shameless mistress. Gumei raised her hand and slapped Lin Shui. Lin Shui didn't dodge, but Gumei's hand was stopped by Zhou Chengwang. Zhou Chengwang's voice was deep. Get lost. Gumei was stunned. Did he just say to get lost? Did he want her to get lost, or did he want Lin Shui to get lost? Just when she was in a daze, Lin Shui slapped her. It was a crisp sound. After that, Lin Shui swung her hand and looked at the secretary. I've helped you. Remember to buy a large size for Chengwang next time. A medium size is a little tight for him. It's uncomfortable. The secretary waved her hand secretly, not daring to reply loudly. However, she felt great. The slap on her face didn't hurt as much anymore. Zhao Zi, who was supporting her, didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Lin Shui's acting skills of the rest of her life depended on this fight. Chengwang should really support her. Lin Shui didn't just look like she could sleep with him, she also had the potential to be a movie queen. At this moment, Gumei was a little dizzy from the slap. She held her face and looked at Zhou Chengwang in disbelief. Her eyes were filled with tears. Chengwang, is this how you treat me? For a woman outside, you allowed her to lay her hands on me. I didn't do it on purpose. It was self-defense. Lin Shui played with her delicate fingernails and smiled gently. Chengwang, you won't blame me, right? Zhou Chengwang's eyes were looking at Gumei, but his words were directed at Lin Shui. He spoke slowly, enunciating each word clearly. Of course not. Lin Shui laughed and revealed a victorious expression to Gumei. Mrs. Zhou, I'm really sorry. I really didn't mean to snatch your husband away. It was Chengwang who couldn't leave me. He said that I was very good at serving him, making him very comfortable and happy. She looked at Gumei with regret. Mrs. Zhou, do you want to eat more? Men will hurt your bones if they hold you like this. Gumei was so angry that her whole body was trembling. She used all her strength to slap Lin Shui. At the very least, she wanted to tear that hateful mouth of hers apart. However, Zhou Chengwang grabbed her hand and pushed her to the side. He said in a deep voice, Go back. Don't embarrass yourself here. Gumei broke down. Zhou Chengwang, you're the one who's fooling around with women. How am I the one being embarrassed? Aren't you afraid of scandal? I've said it before. What scandal could I have? With a wife like you, isn't it normal for me to have an affair? He laughed coldly and looked at Lin Shui. Are you scared? Chapter 2594. Lin Shui leaned into his embrace immediately, her voice moving. Chengwang, I'm so scared. I feel so scared when I'm with you. Someone might hurt me at any time. Chengwang, what should we do? Zhou Chengwang hugged her and said softly, Be good. I'll accompany you tonight. Lin Shui's face broke into a beautiful smile. Aren't you going home then? Yeah, I'll accompany you. Aren't you happy? He reached out and pinched her face. Lin Shui kissed him on the cheek before looking at Gumei. Actually, I'm completely convinced that I lost to Qin Mu. But even you, are you worthy? Is there a difference between you and us actors? With that said, she laughed. Chengwang, do you blame me for offending your wife? Why would I? You're my darling now. Zhou Chengwang pressed Lin Shui against the door and kissed her. Lin Shui hugged his neck passionately and harumphed in satisfaction. Chengwang, go inside. He raised his head slightly and looked at her before lifting her up and kicking open the office door. Gumei was stunned and looked at him blankly. She couldn't believe that he had entered just like that. She wanted to rush in, but the door was swaying rhythmically. Even an idiot would know what the person inside was doing. Gumei was feeling sad earlier on, but now she knew the true meaning of humiliation. He had sex with Lin Shui right in front of her. Gumei was about to go crazy and wanted to rush forward, but Zhao Zi stopped her. Gumei, you still don't understand. Chengwang doesn't feel any guilt towards you at all. Not even a little bit of guilt. Gumei was still in a daze as she muttered to herself. Why would he do this to me? Zhao Zi's voice was pained. You're the one who forced him into this. He doesn't love you. Yes, he wanted you to give birth to his child, but you didn't have to give birth to that child. Gumei looked at him. But Shuemu is my child. How could it be raised by Qin Mu? Zhao Zi was speechless. He sneered and said, It wasn't Qin Mu who killed your child, was it? Gumei's face was extremely pale. She looked at Zhao Zi and took a step back. You also think it's my fault, don't you? What do you think? Zhao Zi chuckled. Gume, do you think Chen Wang will still love you? Divorce him. You can't go back to how you were before. You can't even be friends anymore. Chen Wang has always cared about you. You're the one who made it to where you are today. You can't blame anyone else. Gume raised her chin. I don't believe it. If you don't believe me, the inside of the sect is the best proof. For a man to ignore a woman to such an extent, there should be no need to say anything else, right? Gume pursed her lips and did not want to look at the door again. That was the biggest humiliation in her life. Zhao Zi didn't say anything else. The rest was up to Gume's decision. He supported the little secretary and said gently, "Let me apply the medicine on your face." The little secretary was flattered. "How can I trouble you, President Zhao? It's okay. Girls should be cherished. They're all flesh and blood." As he said that, he glanced at Gume, intentionally or unintentionally. Gume was already different from before. In the past, Gume was still kind. But now, her character was completely twisted. Gume was left alone at the scene. Inside the room, Lin Shui held the door and asked Zhou Chengwang, who was smoking, "Zhou Zong, are you done? I don't have any strength left." Even acting wasn't this tiring. The door was so heavy. It would shake if she pushed it. It would kill her. Chapter 2595. Lin Shui supported herself with her forehead covered in sweat. She couldn't help but stop and said to Zhou Chengwang, "Zhou Zong, even if we really do it, we still need to rest in between, right? Rest?" Zhou Chengwang leaned against the wall and looked at Lin Shui calmly with an unreadable expression. He smoked calmly, and his handsome face was indescribably charming. Lin Shui shook for a while and then stopped. She said softly, "Chengwang, when there's no one around, call me Zhou Zong." Zhou Chengwang said calmly and then ignored Gume. He smoked his cigarette and thought about his past with Qin Mu. Lin Shui said that she still needed to rest even if she really did it. But that wasn't right. When he was most obsessed with Qin Mu's body, he would do it for half an hour without rest. At that time, Qin Mu would always cry in pain and say that it was too long. Actually, it wasn't too long. He knew that he was too demanding. Zhou Chengwang calmly thought about the past in the midst of the lingering smoke. Right now, he no longer had any sex life. It was impossible for him to be with Gume, and he had even less interest in a woman like Lin Shui. If it wasn't for Qin Mu's photo, he would have suspected that he was impotent. Zhou Chengwang smiled when he thought about this. His smile was warm because he thought of someone. Lin Shui saw that he looked better and wanted to slack off again. "I really can't shake it anymore. Plus, Gume should have left long ago." "You can stop shaking it if she's gone?" Zhou Chengwang looked at her. "Is it that easy to take my money?" Lin Shui pouted and continued shaking it. She regretted it now. If she had practiced her acting skills and not thought about the unspoken rules, she would have been an actress too. She wouldn't have to work so hard now. No one wanted him to sleep with them. He shook it until his mouth was dry and his tongue was sore. Zhou Chengwang looked at Lin Shui and smiled. "All right, that's enough." Lin Shui finally let out a sigh of relief. However, she still felt a little unsatisfied. "Zhou Zong, really? You spent so much money. Are you sure you don't need me to accompany you?" She gathered her courage and approached him, exhaling a fragrant breath. Zhou Chengwang looked at her and smiled faintly. I don't need to accompany you anymore." Lin Shui was a little bored. Zhou Zong is so generous. As he spoke, he reached out and smoothed his hair. "Then I'll leave first. But if Zhou Zong wants to come, I'll come anytime." After that, she winked at Zhou Chengwang. Zhou Chengwang almost choked on the smoke, and the corner of his eye twitched slightly. He looked at Lin Shui and slowly took a puff of his cigarette. "No need, probably never." Lin Shui put on a fake smile. "Zhou Zong, you're meditating. But why do I feel like you're not satisfied?" Zhou Chengwang's face darkened. "Don't go too far." Lin Shui was still smiling. "I believe Zhou Zong won't do anything to me right now, because Zhou Zong still needs me to act. Yes, I won't do anything to you, but I don't know if Mrs. Zhou will." Zhou Chengwang lit another cigarette and lowered his head to take a puff. Lin Shui's expression changed. Zhou Chengwang smiled again. But if you listen to me, I'll still get someone to protect you. Thank you, Zhou Zong. Lin Shui didn't dare to mess around again. She tidied her clothes and left. Chapter 2596. At this moment, he wanted to go back to the day when Qin Mu caught him in the act. In that case, he would cherish Qin Mu and love her well. He would never make her cry again. No matter how much he blamed himself, even if he lost everything, he would keep her. He thought, if he hadn't left that day when Gu Mei said that she had taken sleeping pills, would Qin Mu still have left him? Would he have had the courage to be with Qin Mu later on? Zhou Chengwang laughed softly, but it was an extremely bitter laugh. It was useless to think too much. In the end, he had completely lost her. He hadn't been back to the villa for a long time. He really wanted to take a look. Just as he was about to go out with his coat, Zhao Zi knocked on the door and came in. Seeing Zhou Chengwang, he smiled and asked, "Are you going out?" Zhou Chengwang replied, "Yes." Zhao Zi leaned against the door and smiled. Gu Mei has lost a lot of weight, but her hands are quite strong. Your secretary's face is still swollen. Zhou Chengwang glanced at him. You like her? Zhao Zi laughed. How could it be so easy to like a girl? Hearing that, Zhou Chengwang couldn't help but think of what Zhao Zi had confessed before. Zi had said that he liked Qin Mu, his wife, but now she was his ex-wife. Zhou Chengwang paused and then said calmly, "Zi, if you really like her, go after her." He walked over slowly and patted Zhao Zi's shoulder. "If she is with you, I will be relieved." At least, Zi really liked Qin Mu and knew about her past. He even knew that Qin Mu couldn't have children. Such as Zhao Zi should be able to give Qin Mu happiness. Zhao Zi was really shocked. He shook his head and looked at Zhou Chengwang. "I said no, Chengwang. You can't be serious, right?" He forced a smile. "When did you become so generous?" Zhou Chengwang pursed his thin lips. He looked down at the cigarette in his hand and smiled bitterly. "She'll have to remarry eventually. That person could be anyone, but it couldn't possibly be him." Zhou Chengwang. It wasn't that Qin Mu had given up, but Zhou Chengwang had already realized that his messy past couldn't bring happiness to Qin Mu, so he might as well let go. Hearing his words, Zhao Ziyan felt a little sad and sighed. "Chengwang, I don't know." Zhou Chengwang looked at him. "Qin Mu won't be with me. She hates me from the bottom of her heart." Zhao Zi smiled bitterly. "Also, I went on a blind date." He paused and said, "We've already had a few meals. If there aren't any major changes, we should get married." Zhao Zi took out a cigarette and lit it. He squinted and said, "Chengwang, I've seen your Qin Mu, and I suddenly realized that it's better not to have love in marriage. As long as you don't hate each other, as long as you look good, you could do it in bed, be loyal to each other, have children together, and live like this for the rest of your life." Zhou Chengwang's heart was as cold as water. Wasn't that how he used to treat Qin Mu? But what he didn't do was be loyal to her. So, today was retribution. However, he would rather suffer double the pain than let Qin Mu suffer the slightest bit. He didn't dare to disturb her, afraid that she would be harassed by Gu Mei. Chapter 2597. He looked outside and smiled gently. "That little secretary is not bad." Zhou Chengwang laughed as he smoked. "It's obvious that you've taken a fancy to her." Although she was Zhou Chengwang's secretary, he only knew the name and the face. He really didn't notice anything else. Zhao Zi smiled meaningfully and didn't explain. The two men smoked 2 cigarettes together. Zhou Chengwang left first, and Zhao Zi followed. Zhou Chengwang drove directly back to the villa. He hadn't been back for a long time. When the car drove to the door, the guard was a little surprised. "Zhou Zong, open the door." After saying that, Zhou Chengwang slowly rolled up the car window. The black carved door slowly rose in front of him, and the guard didn't have time to tell him that the former Mrs. Zhou was inside. Zhou Chengwang hadn't slept well for a few days. After getting out of the car, he rubbed his neck and prepared to go upstairs to sleep. The place had always been cleaned, and everything was complete and clean. But when he walked up the stairs, there was a familiar faint smell of perfume floating in the air. It was the smell of Qin Mu's perfume. His heart began to beat violently. Zhou Chengwang's hand held the stairs and stopped in the same place for a minute. In his mind, there were too many fantasies, wild and tender, all of them. He forcefully suppressed all his wild imaginations and walked up the stairs very lightly and slowly. With every step, he felt the smell of the perfume drill into his nose, and it also awakened the deep desire that had been buried for a long time. He felt that it was shameful, but he couldn't control it. The existence of Qin Mu was a strong dose of village medicine. Finally, he stood at the door of the master bedroom. The door was open, and the person he wanted to see was lying on the carpet. She wore a thin sweater skirt and flesh-colored silk pants. Her feet were bare, and her high heels were taken off. She seemed to be looking for something under the bed, and as she looked, she muttered to herself, "How can there be nothing?" Zhou Chengwang walked over slowly and asked softly, "What are you looking for?" Qin Mu was shocked, and her body froze. Zhou Chengwang? She wanted to turn around, but he had already hugged her tightly from behind. "Why are you here?" Qin Mu bit her lip and said in a low voice after a long time, "I'm looking for something. Let go of me." "Did you use perfume?" He buried his face in her neck. "Mumu, why are you willing to come here? Did you know I wasn't here, so you came over, huh?" He kissed the back of her neck, as if he was dreaming. Qin Mu bit her lips and said softly, "Zhou Chengwang, don't go too far." "Too much?" He laughed bitterly. "What I want to do is actually much more excessive than this." His voice was extremely suppressed, hoarse and full of desire. Qin Mu bit her lip and didn't know what to do. She struggled, but in exchange, he hugged her even more. "Don't touch Mumu, or I won't be able to hold it in," he said in a low and hoarse voice, and then bit her. It wasn't very light. It was more like he was venting, but more like he was enduring. Qin Mu didn't move and waited for him to calm down. Chapter 2598. But why was Zhou Chengwang hugging her now? Hadn't he had enough of hugging Lin Shui and his countless harem? Thinking of this, Qin Mu stepped on his foot angrily and bit her lip. "Zhou Chengwang, you bastard." He couldn't help but let go of her in pain. Qin Mu immediately ran out, not caring that she was still barefoot. Zhou Chengwang smiled behind her. "Mumu, you don't want your shoes anymore?" She stopped at the door of the bedroom. "Zhou Chengwang, throw them over." He picked up her shoes and stood there looking at her. He smiled and said, "You come and get them, or I'll go over. Choose one, or I'll throw them out." Qin Mu glared at him. He laughed and walked over slowly. Qin Mu didn't move. Zhou Chengwang looked down at her eyes and said softly, "I'll help you put them on." She bit her lip. "I'll do it myself." But he had already squatted down, held one of her feet, and put on her shoes for her. When she held the other one, her body trembled and she couldn't help calling out, "Zhou Chengwang." He grunted and held her feet for a long time without moving. It seemed that she wouldn't leave until he put on her shoes. Qin Mu said softly, "How have you been recently?" After asking, she was probably a little annoyed and said to herself, "How could you not be good?" Zhou Chengwang chuckled. "Are you angry?" Qin Mu kicked him on the shoulder with her shoeless foot. "Why should I be angry? It's Mrs. Zhou who should be angry." Zhou Chengwang grabbed her foot and stabilized her body. Then he put on her shoes. Qin Mu wanted to put her feet on the ground, but he had already hugged her and she fell into the soft bed. Then his strong body covered her. Qin Mu was stunned. She looked at Zhou Chengwang and pursed her lips. "Zhou Chengwang, what is this? Aren't you looking for something?" His face was buried in her neck. "You're leaving if you can't find it, huh?" Qin Mu lay on the soft bed, her brown curly hair wrapped around the pillow like a soft cloud, extremely beautiful. She turned her face away. "I don't want to look anymore." He propped himself up slightly and locked his fingers with hers. Qin Mu turned her head and glared at him. "Zhou Chengwang, you brought it here yourself." In his eyes, there was a man's aggression toward a woman. Qin Mu is embarrassed. "Don't forget that you are married to Gume now. Even if you're not with her, we are divorced." "Zhou Chengwang, do you want to force a woman?" His dark eyes were deep and serene. "I only want to force you." After saying that, he kissed her heavily on the lips. Qin Mu didn't expect him to be so shameless. Her eyes widened and her body kept struggling. She said in a low voice, Bastard, let me go. No matter how she struggled, he still kissed her firmly for a long time. When he finally withdrew from her lips, Qin Mu felt that her lips were numb. She couldn't tell whether he was kissing or biting. She could only stare at him. Is it okay now? What do you think? He hinted at her and did what he preached. Naturally, Qin Mu could feel the changes in his body. She turned her face away uncomfortably. Find someone else. Zhou Chengwang looked at her side profile with a greedy look. Chapter 2599. He looked at her and thought that if he told her despicably that he hadn't had sex with any woman, that Gume hadn't, and that Lin Shui was also a smokescreen, and that he had solved the problem by looking at her photos, would she be soft-hearted and given? However, even if his Moo was willing, he didn't want to wrong her. Zhou Chengwang chuckled bitterly and said, "What are you thinking? I'm just joking with you." He put his hands on the side of the pillow and propped himself up, but he didn't leave, because he wanted to look at her for a while more. Qin Mu couldn't stand it. They were a divorced man and a woman. It was fine if they were lying on the same bed, but they were still in such a posture. Moreover, he would be blinded again at any time. I don't want to look for things anymore. Let go of me. I want to go to the gallery, she said as calmly as she could. Zhou Chengwang didn't move. He still locked her little face and said slowly, Moo, sleep with me. He meant that she would sleep with him for a while. She just needed to lie down and didn't need to do anything. However, she obviously misunderstood and then stretched out her foot to kick him. She hit Zhou Chengwang's vital part. Almost immediately, Zhou Chengwang's face turned pale and beads of sweat rolled down his forehead. However, he still didn't let her go and still maintained his original appearance. Qin Mu was also frightened. She looked at Zhou Chengwang and swallowed. Zhou Chengwang, are you okay? What do you think? He gritted his teeth. Qin Mu's lips trembled slightly. And finally, she reached out to help him check. Zhou Chengwang was in pain and happiness. He turned over and lay flat, letting her check him. But after a while, Qin Mu screamed, shameless. But it was too late. She fell into his arms, and her body was close to his. His thin lips were hot against her neck, and the breath he exhaled made her tremble. What do you want to do? She closed her eyes slightly, her expression somewhat fragile. He really wanted to give him another kick. It would be best if he was crippled. Zhou Chengwang was still leaning on her neck. His voice was low and hoarse. Help me solve it, huh? Qin Mu could hardly believe her ears. Zhou Chengwang, do you want to do it yourself? Or do I force you to do it? It's up to you. His voice was somewhat repressed. Initially, he didn't plan on doing anything, but since she wanted to check up, he felt that he would be letting himself down if he didn't do something. Anyway, she didn't have a boyfriend now, and he actually didn't have any other women. In a sense, they were both single. Of course, Zhou Zong automatically excluded Gu Zhe from her world. She felt that the kiss might have been an accident, because she and Gu Mei didn't seem to have any contact after that. After a long time, Qin Mu was still in a daze. Then, her little hand was held by him, and he forced her to do something shameless. In the past, even when they were married, she rarely served him like this. Moreover, now that they were divorced, he had a huge harem. Of course, Qin Mu didn't want to, but he forced her to do it. So, it was simply a disaster. There was no enjoyment, only pain. He gritted his teeth. Qin Mu, do you know how to do it? Qin Mu almost went crazy, of course. It ended abruptly. There was a subtle feeling in the air. When did he become so fast? Chapter 2600. Qin Mu was also stunned and looked at him. The atmosphere was quite subtle, and it was also very embarrassing for Zhou Chengwang. After a long time, Qin Mu smiled and said, maybe Zhou Zong is weak. It's understandable. His face darkened. He really wanted to drag her under his body and take her over and over again to let her know whether he was weak or not. But in the end, he still lay down and said softly, I'm sorry. I'm probably a little excited today. Qin Mu glared at him and wished she could step on his face with her high heels. Just like that, they looked at each other. Zhou Chengwang suddenly reached out to cover his face. Moo, I think it was a dream. When I woke up, we were still in this house, and we were still husband and wife. He murmured, I didn't make you cry again. I didn't make you sad again. Qin looked at him and did not say anything. He removed his arm and looked at her quietly. Qin, you don't hate me now, do you? She nodded. His face instantly turned pale. Did not hate him mean that she did not love him anymore? In the past, Qin was not like this. She was so proud. After the divorce, she was afraid that she would hate to touch his hand. Today, he still forced her to do this, but she did not seem to be very angry. She did this because she did not care. His heart was as cold as water, and he did not say anything for a long time. Qin sat on the edge of the bed and put on her shoes. Just as she was about to get up, he hugged her from behind again. Mumu, stay with me for a while more. He murmured, just take it that I'm lonely, okay? Her body stiffened, and he quickly said, I know what you're looking for. It's the wedding ring, isn't it? He buried his head in her neck and said, lie with me for a while, and I'll give it back to you. Qin voice was slightly stiff. I'm not looking for that. Liar. He bit behind her ear. I hid it because I was afraid that you would throw it away. Lie down with me for a while, and I'll give it to you. You can throw it away if you want. I won't care anymore, okay? Qin closed her eyes slightly. Do you think I will agree? Yes, because you have a little obsessive-compulsive disorder. There was a hint of a smile in his voice. Qin was so angry that she tried to hit him with her little hands, but he caught her, and they fell onto the bed together. She was hugged from behind. He trapped her arm and hugged her. Then, Qin felt something cold on her fingertips. It was her ring finger. You're a pervert. She couldn't help but say, Zhou Chengwang, we said we part ways on good terms. Yes, but I remember that I bought the ring. Why did you look for it? He asked her. Qin was infuriated. Then I bought yours. Give it back to me. As soon as he finished speaking, he turned his body around and pulled out the necklace around his neck. There was a plain white gold wedding ring hanging on it. Mumu, do you want to take it away? He said softly, I can only sleep at night wearing it. Qin cursed in her heart. Who told her that Zhou Chengwang wouldn't come here? She just wanted to find something and bury it to fulfill her wish. Now, it seemed that he was going to let her go, but that wasn't the case at all. He had been pushing his luck. She had hugged him, and she had even served him. What else did he want? Chapter 26:01. She didn't say anything. Zhou Chengwang smiled and still hugged her. You can't bear to part with me, can you? He thought that Qin wouldn't answer him, but she did. Zhou Chengwang, yes, I can't bear to part with you, but sometimes it's better to miss each other than to see each other. She gently pushed him away. I've already crossed a lot today. I won't come here again. Perhaps it was too sudden, or perhaps it was because her mind was too soft, so she stepped back step by step. However, she didn't intend to step back anymore, because she wouldn't be Qin anymore. Qin wasn't a mistress, and she didn't want to be one of the women in his harem. She stepped back a little, and under his slightly pained gaze, she took the ring off her finger. I was wrong. The last obsession would only make them unable to let go of each other, which was shameful and immoral. She lowered her eyes. As for yours, if you're willing to wear it, I'm not qualified to say anything. Zhou Chengwang, we've said that we'll part on good terms. It's really meaningless like this. I know. He let out a heavy breath and let go of her. Then there was silence, an unbearable silence. After a long time, he said softly, Qin, just think of it as a dream. Don't take it too seriously. However, he took it seriously. At that time, he was very intoxicated. He felt that they had returned to the past. So he kissed her and forced her to do that for him. Qin looked at him and gave him a slight smile. Then he got off the bed. She tidied herself up and turned her back to him. Zhou Chengwang, I'm leaving. There was no sound behind her. She walked towards the door, and with every step she took, her heart ached more. After all, she had loved him, and she had given her heart to him. She would still feel pain if she left. When she reached the door, he hugged her from behind. Just as she was about to speak, Zhou Chengwang's voice rang in her ears. Please, don't talk. Just let me hug you for a while. Just for a while. Perhaps this was the last time he would hold her like this. She was right. They had parted on good terms. He had no right to ask anything of her. What he had done to her today was truly evil. He had relied on the fact that she might still be sentimentally attached to him, but he hatefully took advantage of her attachment and did shameless things. Qin Mu didn't move. He hugged her with so much force that he almost crushed her bones. Every inch of his strength was filled with reluctance. But no matter how reluctant he was, he still let her go. He kissed her forehead and helped her tidy up her coat. Then he said in a hoarse voice, "Qin Mu, be well. Find a good man to marry." Qin Mu's eyes widened slightly. She could hardly believe her ears. Because Zhou Chengwang had never been so generous before, but this was considered letting go. The highest realm of letting go was probably blessing. Zhou Chengwang smiled at her and said, "Mu, be happy. If you're happy, I'm happy too. Do you know?" He looked at her with a burning gaze, but it turned into the most powerful weapon. Qin Mu's eyes were stained with tears. She wanted to smile at him and tell him that she was very good, but she couldn't say a word because what she thought was good was not good at all. It turned out that she still felt heartache when she looked at him. Chapter 26:02. She suddenly couldn't take it anymore. She pushed him away and ran downstairs. This time, Zhou Chengwang didn't chase after her. Instead, he looked at her back until she couldn't be seen. Then, he looked down at her wedding ring on his finger. This pair of wedding rings had been with him for a very long time, every single day, every single moment. He felt that he loved her, but he still cared about his own comfort and made her cry. Zhou Chengwang looked down and smiled silently. It was a bitter smile. This time, he should really let go. Let go and let her be happy. He turned and went upstairs, quietly lying on the bed. There was still the faint scent of her body on it. It had been a long time since he had smelled this scent. He smelled it fondly, and later ordered the servants at home not to change the bedsheets. If he wanted to change it, he would change it next summer. Qin Mu ran all the way downstairs and felt like she couldn't breathe. She stood there for a long time before she suddenly turned around and looked at the villa. This was the house that he had said he would give her. In the end, he had given her everything but this house. What was the point of keeping it? Was it hard to see it? Qin Mu smiled, but her face was full of tears. At this moment, her phone rang. She looked at the caller ID and saw that it was Qin Shen. Qin Shen's voice was very leisurely. "Qin Mu, don't you want to come to New York for a vacation?" Qin Mu looked in the direction of the villa and smiled. "Didn't you say that you were busy a while ago? Didn't you say that you did a great experiment and saved a puppy?" "No, it's a monkey," Qin Shen said seriously. Qin Mu said helplessly, "All right, it's a monkey. Is a monkey better?" "Yes, it can eat and sleep. It's quite cute. Don't you want to see it?" Qin Shen invited her warmly, which was rare. Qin Mu wanted to refuse, but after thinking about it, she agreed. Perhaps it was good to relax. She bit her lip and thought about it. "Then I'll go next week, and I'll take you to New York for Christmas. It will be very exciting." Qin Shen smiled happily. Qin Mu felt that she hadn't seen Qin Shen so happy for a long time, and she was happy for her. Qin Shen seemed to have changed over the years. He looked normal, but she could feel that he was unhappy. Behind his elegant and refined appearance, there was a mystery. As for the reason, no one dared to ask. Everyone had a wound that couldn't be touched, and that mystery was Qin Shen's. Qin Mu hung up the phone and walked to her car slowly. When she started the car, she was in a much better mood. It was probably because of Qin Shen's call and the vacation that she had received. She told herself that she should give herself a long vacation and leave the city. When she came back, she might feel much better. With a faint smile, he started the car and left. But she didn't notice that soon after she left, a red sports car slowly drove over from the other side. Gumei's face flashed through the car window. She wore a pair of sunglasses on her palm-sized face. When she flashed past, she saw Zhou Chengwang's sports car parked in the villa. Sure enough, he still missed this place. Lin Shui and those women were just comforts. The one he didn't forget was still Qin Mu. But why did Qin Mu appear here? It seemed that she didn't have an appointment with Zhou Chengwang. Because Gumei knew Qin Mu's character very well. Such a proud person was unlikely to be entangled with Zhou Chengwang after the divorce. So, was it a coincidence? Chapter 26, 06/03. From that day on, Qin Mu did not go to that villa again. In fact, she had only been there once since the divorce. But it was this time that she met Zhou Chengwang. From that day on, she did not see him for a few days. She deliberately did not hear any news about him, but his scandals were still spreading all over the place. At this moment, she was in the art gallery with her sister-in-law, Cher, standing next to her. Cher stood side by side with her, discussing what kind of paintings they should hang here. Cher suddenly turned her head and looked at Qin Mu. "Have you seen the news about Zhou Chengwang these days?" Qin Mu was stunned for a moment and looked away. "No." Cher patted her on the shoulder. "If you let it go, this news will be very satisfying for you." Qin Mu looked at her, not understanding what she meant. Just 2 days ago, there was a civil war in Zhou Chengwang's harem. Cher coughed. It seems that a model was injured by Lin Shui's bodyguard. Lin Shui was a smart woman. She knew how to protect herself on the way to the top. She even hired bodyguards. They were supposed to protect Gumei, but they were used on other mistresses instead. Cher sighed. It was a fierce scene. The main thing is that Zhou Chengwang and Gumei are not in a good relationship and can divorce at any time. That's why other women have thoughts about him. She looked at Qin Mu and coughed. "Why do I feel that Lin Shui is the most likely person?" Qin Mu laughed. "Cher, don't provoke me. It's impossible between him and me." She paused. "Besides, he is so messed up now. It's disgusting to think about it." She stuck her tongue out at Shui. Only in front of Shui. Could she joke like this? The thing about Zhou Chengwang was indeed a terrible thing in Qin Mu's life. Similarly, only Cher dared to talk to her about Zhou Chengwang. Actually, there was nothing that she couldn't say here. Although it was painful, it was over. She was not the weak Qin Mu. Cher looked at her and smiled. Then she hooked her arm and rested her face on Qin Mu's shoulder. "Mu, I heard that you're going to New York." Qin Mu looked at the little head on her shoulder and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Really, Cher's older than me by 4 years. She's not young anymore. She'll be 28 this year, right? But Cher has always been thin and small. She's about 160 centimeters tall and looks very girlish. She always looks like she's in her 20s. She can even act coquettishly in front of me, and I can't do anything about it. Will my brother be jealous when he sees you like this?" Qin Mu smiled and then ruffled Cher's hair. Cher smiled. "If I lean on Qin Shin's shoulder like this, your brother will probably want to kill me." Although Qin Shin was a girl, she looked like a man. Yimyun never allowed her to get close to him, but every time Qin Shin saw her, he would hug her. He liked to see his brother angry and crazy, because it was rare. Cher smiled and thought of Yi Muyun's brothers and sisters. Then she stretched and said in a delicate voice, "Mu, as your sister-in-law, I'll take good care of you." Qin Mu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Forget it. It's us who will take care of you." Cher looked at her and said, "I'll lose face if you say that." Chapter 26:04. Qin Mu patted the little Cher next to her and said, "Well, go and ask my brother if you have any shame. You are fighting with your own daughter and son for favor. Don't you feel ashamed?" Cher stuck out her tongue and said, "I'm older. They should give in to me." Qin Mu had never seen such a righteous mother, but it was also because her brother spoiled her. Speaking of Cher and the 2 children, her brother really doted on Cher a little more. Qin Mu thought darkly in her heart that it was because Cher could play adult games with him. Her brother was also kind of like that. Yi Muyun walked in and just hooked his hand, and his little one ran over. He took her into his arms and smiled at Qin Mu. "I'm going to have dinner with Cher later. Do you want to join us?" Qin Mu crossed her arms in front of her and smiled. "Forget it. It's rare for you to have some alone time." Just thinking about the 2 little ones at home gave her a headache. Yi Muyun looked serious. Qin Mu had said what was on his mind. In the past, he'd really liked children, especially Cher's. Every single one of them resembled her. But now, how he missed the time when he didn't have children. Yi Muyun took Cher away and decided to go to the presidential suite of the GM Hotel as soon as possible after dinner. After that, he would go home to nurse the children. Just thinking about it made him cry bitterly. Qin Mu watched them leave and smiled. She also packed up her things and was ready to get off work. It was cold, and she wanted to eat hot pot. After thinking about it, she called Huan and asked her to eat with her. She also asked her brother, Qin Mo, what Huan thought. After the phone call, she got off work in a good mood and drove to the good vegetarian hot pot restaurant. Qin Mu went there almost once a week. After driving for about half an hour, her car stopped at a red light and couldn't start again. Qin Mu tried a few times, but to no avail. In the end, she could only get out of the car and open the front cover to check. She didn't know much about it to begin with, so she couldn't find anything after looking at it for a long time. So she got into the car and tried again, but to no avail. Just as she got out of the car again, a deep male voice sounded beside her. The car broke down. Lin Sanjiu was lying on the hood of the car to look at the car. When she heard the voice, she immediately raised her head. However, the moment she raised her head, she bumped into the person's chin. They both groaned at the same time. Qin Mu covered her head and looked at the man in front of her with tears in her eyes. It was Guze. The way she looked at him was not friendly. Guze found it both funny and infuriating. Her hostility was too inexplicable. He asked again, "The car broke down? It's none of your business." Her voice was unfriendly, and then she lay down and pretended to examine him. Guze didn't ignore her because of her coldness. He stood by the side and watched. Suddenly, he opened her car door and sat inside. Qin Mu immediately straightened up and ran over. "What are you doing?" Guze was sitting in the car. The door was open. When she leaned over, he grabbed her slender arm and dragged her in. Qin Mu screamed and then sat on his lap. She was about to struggle when she felt a hidden force. She was married, so she naturally didn't dare to move. She just said in a mess, "Guze, let go of me, or I'll scream." "Scream. People will think that we're quarreling." He said indifferently, "If you scream, I'll kiss you immediately." Chapter 26:05. Guze chuckled. "How can there be such a stupid person? Don't you know that the car is running out of gas?" Qin Mu widened her eyes and looked over. It seemed that the car was running out of gas. She was a little embarrassed and said after a while, "Then put me down. I have to make a call." Guze didn't let go of her. He held her waist with one hand and dialed a number with the other. When he spoke, his voice was elegant and pleasant. The car door wasn't closed. Everyone in the car saw her sitting on him. He didn't care. She still wanted to save her face, and she didn't want to be in the news for her ex-husband to see. She had no choice but to climb to the front passenger seat. This time, he didn't stop her. After the call, he put away the phone. "Where are you going? I'll give you a ride." Qin Mu ignored him and didn't move. "I don't need you to care about me." "Guze, did you hear that? It seems that you are very guarded against me." He looked at her. "Do you think that I want to chase you?" Qin Mu didn't say anything because she knew that these men who did well in the business world were all bad. Her brother was like that. So was Zhou Chengwang. Naturally, Guze wasn't bad either. She didn't say anything, but he chuckled. "You're right, but I might not chase you. I might force you." As he said that, he grabbed her arm. "If you don't want people to watch, take your bag and get out of the car with me." Qin Mu was furious. At that moment, she really wanted to scream on the road. So what if she was embarrassed? She didn't want to have anything to do with Gu Mei's brother, but he seemed to be passionate about it. In the end, for the sake of the gallery's reputation, she swallowed her anger. She got into the car with him and told him the location of the vegetarian restaurant. When Guze started the car, he held his chin and smiled. "I haven't had dinner yet. You don't mind, right?" He added, "It's my treat." "No need." Qin Mu's voice was a little faint. Then she looked at him and said unbearably, "Guze, you used to be pretty good. Really, keep it up." Guze's eyes darkened, and his voice became colder. "Is it because I didn't pester you before?" She didn't say anything, which was a tacit agreement. Guze lit a cigarette. After taking a drag, he said indifferently, "You used to be Mrs. Zhou. How could I pester you?" Her heart skipped a beat. She turned to look at him. "Guze, I'm not Mrs. Zhou. It's impossible between us. You know that." "Yes, I'm Gu Mei's brother," he said in a self-deprecating manner, then stopped at a red light. "Qin Mu, I can guarantee that you will not see Gu Mei, not even once. I won't make things difficult for you." He held the cigarette and said bitterly, "As long as you're willing, I can give you everything. What Zhou Chengwang has given you, And what he can't give you, I can't give it all. She didn't know how torturous it was to secretly observe someone in the dark. From shameful to accepting, to hopeless to seeing a glimmer of hope, that kind of change in state of mind was so torturous. He used to think that they couldn't be together because he was Gu Mei's brother. But life was a lifetime. If he gave up for this, he would feel sorry for the 8 years of love. Qin Mu's heart raced. After a long time, she closed her eyes. Guze, don't force me. Chapter 26:06. Guze pursed his lips and still looked at her. After looking at her for a long time, he said with a faint smile, "Okay, I won't force you." He continued to drive, but the speed was a little slow. It was so slow that Qin Mu couldn't ignore it. She looked at him and said, "Can you drive faster?" Guze's eyes still fell on the position in front of him. He smiled faintly and said, "As long as I can make it. It's fine, isn't it?" Qin Mu was so angry that she didn't want to talk to him. She turned her head away and didn't speak. Guze smiled slightly and then didn't say much. He even turned on the car stereo, which was a new song by the rain god. As he drove, he seemed to be a little absorbed in the song and even forgot her feelings. But Qin Mu knew in her heart that how could he forget? She also stubbornly stopped talking. Just like that, she drove in silence and encountered a rush hour traffic jam. Qin Mu was furious. She stared at him and said, "Guze, did you do it on purpose?" There was a very charming smile on his lips. "I can't control the traffic jam, but you should have driven faster just now." She accused him of his mistake. Guze paused for a moment, looked at her sideways, and smiled. "It's hard for me to concentrate when you're sitting next to me. It'll be dangerous if I drive fast." Qin Mu wanted to ask about his family, but now she was in his car, so she had to hold it back. At this time, He Huan called and asked her softly if she had arrived. Qin Mu raised her hand and looked at her watch, only to find that it was almost 6:30 p.m. She had an appointment with He Huan at 6:30 p.m. "Mumu, I'm already here," He Huan said happily. "Then I'll order first. I'll wait for you." Qin Mu nodded and said gently, "If I'm late, you can eat first." Qin Mu had always treated He Huan as child. He Huan was as tall as Cher and her mother, Su Chum. She was a petite beauty, so Qin Mu loved her dearly. He Huan nodded and then told her pitifully, "I didn't bring my wallet. I wanted to eat yours. Mumu, if you hadn't come, I might have been left to wash the dishes." Qin Mu smiled. "Okay." She put away the phone and looked at the long traffic jam in front of her. She was a little worried. "Will this be over? Guze, do you have any other shortcuts?" Guze bent one arm and rested on the side of the car window. "Even if I do, I can't move it." Qin Mu looked through the rearview mirror and saw that the back was also packed to the brim. Her little face was slightly furrowed. "Can we still move?" She even had the urge to get off the car. However, as soon as this urge arose, Guze said calmly, "You didn't take off your coat." Qin Mu glared at him. "Why didn't you say so earlier?" Guze showed a charming smile again and said lazily, "Why should I say so earlier?" "Qin Mu, if you're so sincere when chasing a girl, will you still succeed?" Qin Mu snorted. "You won't succeed even if you do that. At least I tried." He smiled, then reached into the locker and took out a piece of chocolate for her. "Eat some, and you'll be fine soon." Qin Mu looked at the chocolate in his hand and raised her eyes. "Do you usually use it to coax girls?" "I do occasionally, but I've never met a girl I want to coax." He smiled, opened it for her, and put it in her palm. Chapter 26:07. However, Qin Mu felt that there was a deeper meaning behind his words. He explained it calmly and even confessed. She was a little surprised, but then she felt a little flattered. Qin Mu didn't have a princess syndrome. She didn't think that it was natural for a man to love her unconditionally for 8 years. Moreover, it was a man as outstanding as Guze. She knew that as long as he was willing, he could find a dozen women who were as good-looking as her and had a good family background, especially unmarried women. There was no need for him to be entangled with a divorced woman. She took small bites of the chocolate and stopped talking. Anything she said would be wrong and dangerous. Guze naturally felt the change in her emotions. He didn't say anything and just rolled up the car window silently. There was a faint smell of chocolate in the car. It was sweet, and the girl who ate chocolate was still sitting beside him beautifully after everything. Guze's lips couldn't help but curl up slightly. It was good enough just like that. His gaze landed on a milk tea shop by the roadside, and he made a call. Thus, after Mu finished a small piece of chocolate, the car window slid open. A girl in work attire passed the milk tea in with a sweet smile. Guze paid for it. When the car window closed again, he passed the milk tea to Mu. Have some hot tea. Mu rejected it. I won't drink it. I'll get fat. He looked at her and smiled faintly. There's going to be another 2 hours of traffic here. Are you sure you don't want to drink it? Mu's eyes widened slightly. She leaned her head forward, and her brown hair bounced naturally on her shoulders, looking very beautiful. She was a little conflicted. She wanted to get out of the car, but the thought of the cold wind outside made her shrink back. Drinking a cup of milk tea in the car should be much better. In the end, she gave in to the warmth of reality and held a cup of cappuccino in her hands, sipping it happily. Guze looked at her calmly. Mu drank half of it and said softly, Guze, can you look away? The scenery outside is pretty good. He smiled and put his hands in front of him. He looked at the car outside and then at her. Then he let her stay there to wash the dishes. He raised his hand and looked at his watch. It's past 7 o'clock now. She's probably done eating. Mu was shocked. She immediately took out her phone and found that it was out of battery. My secretary lives nearby. I'll let her deal with it. Guze saw her embarrassment and smiled. Mu combed her hair and smiled awkwardly. Thank you. I'll give her a present one day. The person you should thank the most is her boss. Huh? Guze chuckled after the call. Mu secretly rolled her eyes and then looked to the other side. If you hadn't driven so slowly, I wouldn't have been stuck in traffic. If you weren't by my side, I wouldn't have driven so slowly. Moo, in the end, it's still your fault. He naturally called her name. Although it was intimate, it didn't make people feel awkward. Mu turned her head to look at him. His gaze was warm and certain. It was the kind of gaze that was determined to get what he wanted, and it was the kind of gaze that was appropriate. Mu found that he was different from before, but she couldn't tell what was different. She felt a little uncomfortable and coughed. Oh. Chapter 26:08. Since he said so, Mu said straightforwardly, then you can convert it into money and I'll transfer it to you. Then wouldn't it be better if you treated me to dinner? I'm hungry. Mu looked ahead. It's very late now. That vegetarian restaurant doesn't close until 10, he said naturally. Mu was a little surprised. Do you eat there often? He didn't say anything. He didn't intend to tell her that he had followed her in his car several times. She would know after going there many times. After Mu asked, he didn't answer. She felt a little bored and put down the milk tea. I'm not drinking anymore. Guze raised his eyebrows. This is for me? No. Before she could finish, he had already picked it up and drank the remaining half of the cup. A man drank milk tea, and it was her leftover milk tea, but Guze drank it calmly and didn't look feminine at all. After drinking it, he threw it into the small trash can and smiled. It's quite sweet. Mu, other than blushing, she couldn't have any other reaction. Guze looked at her blushing face and smiled. His eyes fell on the straw again. If she wasn't here at this time, he would definitely pick it up and swallow the last mouthful. But thinking about it, he felt a little perverted. Just like that, the rain god's music was still playing in the car. Probably because of the appeal of the rain god, it actually rained at night in B City. It was dark outside, and only the rain looked clear in the dark night. And Guze's car moved very slowly. When they passed the peak of the traffic, it was almost 9 o'clock. Guze's car was parked in the parking lot. He threw his coat to Mu. Put on. I'll get the umbrella from the trunk first. You wait in the car for a while. Mu refused. You put the coat on. He looked at her and smiled. Be obedient. When he said these two words, Mu was a little stunned. Be obedient. It seemed like a long time ago someone used to coax her like this when she was disobedient. Guze seemed to have realized it. He smiled and ruffled her hair. Mu forced a smile and looked at him. In that kind of gaze, They knew what each other was thinking. In the end, he still got out of the car and quickly walked to the back to get the umbrella. Then, he ran over to open the car door for her. When Qin got under the umbrella, he held her arm. The umbrella wasn't big, so it was a little cramped, so they seemed to be hugging each other. The scene of a handsome man and a beautiful woman on a rainy winter night was indeed very pleasing to the eye. However, no matter how pleasing to the eye, it was not as hot as the scene of them kissing in a car. In the opposite car, the lights were on. The man and woman inside were hugging and kissing unscrupulously. The kiss was very deep and beautiful. The man and the woman, black and white, revealed endless tension. And what made Qin unable to move her eyes away was that the man in the car was Zhou Chengguang. In his arms was a young girl who had just debuted. Qin remembered that she had shot a commercial, which was quite refreshing. The most important thing was that the girl was only 18 years old. At the age of 18, she was entangled with a married and successful man in his late 30s. Qin sneered. She didn't know whether to laugh at the woman, herself, or Zhou Chengguang. Chapter 26:09. Of course, he saw the man's clothes on her and Guze standing next to her. Were they together? And Qin also saw that his lips were covered with a woman's lipstick mark, which made him look very slutty. Their eyes met, separated by a layer of car glass and the rain in the dark night. It was quiet, very quiet. The world seemed to have stopped, and the people coming and going seemed to have disappeared. A drop of tear from the corner of Qin eye corroded Zhou Chengguang's heart. It was numb and painful. The 18-year-old girl hugged him again, gave him her rosy and fresh lips, and kissed him passionately. He didn't reject, nor did he react. His gaze was still fixed on Qin, staring straight at him. And Qin suddenly found that the girl looked a little like her. Perhaps Lin Shui and the other women were just smoke bombs, and he was the one who made Gume angry, but he might really get this girl in a bed. Qin smiled, then clasped her fingers on Guze's arm and said softly, "Let's go in." His answer was to put his arm around her shoulder, pull her into his arms, and kiss her hair. Okay. It was still raining. The drizzle was like silk, but also like a knife, stabbing into Zhou Chengguang's heart. He suddenly pushed the woman away and quickly opened the door to get out of the car. Wearing only a black shirt, he stood in a rainy winter night and kept looking at the door of the restaurant, as if he felt that she could come out at any time, go to his car door, open the door, and slap him in the face. The 18-year-old girl in the car also got out of the car. She was only wearing a dress, and her body was shivering. She hugged Zhou Chengguang and murmured, "Zhou Zong." She kissed his chin again, but Zhou Chengguang pushed her away. His tone was a little cold. "I hate it when women play tricks on me." In the restaurant, the wine he drank was probably mixed with something. It was not strong, but it added to the fun. In addition, the woman looked a bit like Moo, so he was confused for a moment. If Qin hadn't appeared, he would probably have sex with this woman in the car, because he had mistaken her for someone else. The cold rain hit his face and body, which made him sober a lot. The little girl named Kiki was about to cry. She bit her lip and said, "Zhou Zong, I didn't do it on purpose." She knew that Zhou Zong couldn't forget his ex-wife, and Zhou Zong didn't eat with her. She wanted to be famous like crazy. She wanted to be famous like crazy. Her brother had to go to school, and her mother had to be treated. She had no choice. Moreover, Zhou Zong was very handsome and charming. She didn't want to give her body to those old men. Of his body was better than hers. One of her sisters gave her an idea, and it took Kiki a long time to decide to do so. Of course, she was no stranger to men. She was not a virgin, but she hadn't been with many men, so she was still clean. She thought that even if she couldn't make it right, it was enough for Zhou Zong to support her. Zhou Chengguang stood in the rainy night, while Kiki cried miserably. As she spoke, she really cried, because she was really miserable. Her first time was taken away by the boss of her agency. He was a fat man who weighed 180 kilograms. He was old and ugly. Even now, she wanted to vomit when she thought of it. Later, she had been with 2 or 3 men one after another, and she didn't have any impression of them. Chapter 2610. She would have succeeded if she hadn't met his ex-wife. Kiki was only 18 years old, but she wasn't stupid. Zhou Chengwang picked her purely because of her face. Now that she had angered him, she was afraid that he would shut her out and kill her. Hence, she could only confess. After a long time, Zhou Chengwang finally lowered his head and looked at the girl who was crying miserably. Forget it, don't do it again. He paused for a moment. If there's a next time, I'll destroy your face. Kiki cried. I won't dare. Zhou Zong, please forgive me. Get $1 million from my secretary tomorrow, be it for your father's treatment or your sister's schooling. It's my mother's treatment and my brother's schooling. Kiki corrected him softly, but Zhou Chengwang didn't care about that. He was distraught. Get lost now. If I want to have a meal with you, I'll get my secretary to contact you. Chi-Chi bit her lips and hummed in acknowledgement. She knew very well in her heart that she was truly just a substitute for him. Only when he looked at her face would he occasionally reveal a smile. But she also knew that she was just a facade. His ex-wife was really beautiful, completely different from her family background. She had a great temperament, and even if she were to wear a man's coat, it would still make one's heart ache. Kiki suddenly knew why he was in such a bad mood. It was probably because his ex-wife ran away with someone else. Kiki suddenly felt that she wasn't that pitiful. Zhou Zong, who had grass planted on his head, was the one who was pitiful. She whispered again to express her loyalty. Zhou Zong, don't worry. I won't do something like this again. She hurriedly said, I can also go for plastic surgery to look more like you. That way, CEO Zhou will be more comfortable and satisfied. Zhou Chengwang glanced at her. Even if you're wearing her skin, you're not her. Kiki shrank back a little, then ran to the side of the car and took out her small bag, as well as a cheap fake fur coat. She ran a few steps and turned back. Goodbye, Zhou Zong. You're such a good person. Zhou Chengwang stood in the rain and sneered. Good people? In Qin Mu's heart, he was a scumbag. However, he wasn't going to explain. If it was a misunderstanding, then so be it. Actually, it was quite good for her to be with Gu Zhe. At least, Gu Zhe really liked her. He knew that he had liked her for many years. Moreover, Gu Zhe would protect her and would do a better job than him. Zhou Chengwang smiled. The rain fell on his face, shining, but it was hard to tell if it was the rain or his tears. He sat back in the car, disregarding the fact that his clothes were all wet. The car drove very fast. In the vegetarian restaurant, Qin Mu was a little absent-minded. She ate whatever Gu Zhe put on her plate. After a long time, Gu Zhe finally smiled. Can you still eat? Qin Mu looked up at him, then at her plate. She seemed to have eaten a lot. She looked a little uncomfortable as she forced out a smile. I'm full. Wait for me for a while then. He was still smiling. He started eating very quickly, as though he was really hungry. Qin Mu couldn't help but ask, You haven't eaten all this while? You just realized? Gu Zhe's eyes were a little bright. I feel that Zhou Zong is so pitiful, ha ha ha, that you're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.